Let's move on now and talk about ending homelessness. It is the goal of Milwaukee County Executive Chris Abele.
It also landed Chris Abele in the White House this week to talk with First Lady Michelle Obama about the issues.
And County Executive Abele is here to talk about the visit and his plan. What was the purpose of the meeting?
Well, the White House had a conference around ending veteran homelessness, and because the Milwaukee County's project that we announced about a summer and a half ago to end chronic homelessness for vets and all categories, whole county, in 3 years, because we've had such success. I mean, we're doing this faster than any metro in America. They asked us to present. So obviously it was an honor.
You were there with?
Yeah, that's Hector Colon, our Director of Health and Human Services. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'll say it was great to be in the White House in a time when everybody's talking about this transition on a subject that everybody agrees with. I mean, there were Republicans, there were Democrats. I don't think there's too many people on the other side of ending veteran homelessness.
So kind of tell our viewers what Milwaukee is doing different that other cities can model.
Well, we are using what's called the housing first approach, and the idea is rather than providing temporary housing, you provide permanent housing, you provide all the services that are appropriate for, you know, the folks that you give housing to, but the goal is always not just to have them subsist, it's to empower them so they can get jobs. And the neat thing about this approach is 5 years in, statistically, about 32% of people who are still in housing, they're paying for it themselves because they've got jobs. And we said we would get to a functional zero for chronic homelessness in Milwaukee in 3 years, and knock on wood, but we're ahead of schedule.
It's a pretty bold prediction to do that, and a goal, I should say. By 2018, you want to end it. How much of what you're doing also deals with the emergency shelters and dealing with those who are temporarily, you know, in shelters and face a crisis maybe for a week or a month and not a chronic situation?
Sure. Well, actually, by addressing the chronically homelessness, so that's people who've been homeless for over a year or more than 4 times in 3 years, but these are the people with the most need, and they take up a lot of shelter beds, but the more housing permanent you can give to them, the shelter beds free up capacity, and they've been seeing that already, which means they have much more capacity to help other parts of homelessness. We don't see chronic homelessness as an endpoint. It's just that this is the most difficult part of the population to help, and we help this first. It's that much easier to address the rest.
Okay, just so I make sure I understand with chronic homelessness, even though you've given the time period, is this the person who may have just lost a job, maybe sleeping on a family person's couch, not the typical person that we may see outside, who's been there for a while, panhandling possibly, just so we get an idea of who is this?
So chronic homelessness is a federal definition, and it means people who have been homeless for over a year or 4 times or more in 3 years. And typically about 70% of that population has issues with mental illness. They have more barriers to getting on their feet and stabilizing and getting jobs. You're right, there is a category of people who, you know, your house burns down, and that's important too. But the nice thing is you help with chronic homelessness, there's more support for them also.
As we wrap up here, give me your challenge that you've got for veterans.
Yeah, so just this holiday season, I just personally am a longtime supporter of the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative. Great group that focuses on veterans homelessness. And this year, I personally, no tax dollars, I did a $25,000 challenge grant. So if people are thinking this Christmas season you want to do right by vets, you know, help them have a meal that we're all enjoying with our family, support their group, and your contribution will be doubled.
That's
up to $25,000.
Up to $25,000.
You're always doing something good.
Right.
Chris Abele, County Executive of Milwaukee, thank you very much for coming in.